Thank you very much for your time. We are the German group.
The first 9 o'clock.
The first 9 o'clock.
Yes, of course.
Been in time.
So actually it's all also digital and print media. I start with Wolfgang. Wolfgang is working for Uhrenkosmos. Oh, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm an old media guy and started recently with my friend and partner Nickl-Krieger 3 years ago a watch platform. I have no clue about watches, but worked a little bit with media. And it's a pleasure to be here. And congratulations for your marvelous work. It's really impressive.
Thanks.
Thank you. So I'm Antje, I'm the editor of the Watchpro Germany. It's a trade magazine, digital and print magazine, so we have a daily news alert and monthly print magazine, and it was founded in London, and since 2.5 years I do the German edition.
And I'm the press speaker for Ulysse Nardin in Germany. I'm in the business for quite a long time, and I'm very excited with the sustainability topic very much.
Nickl-Krieger from Watch I Love. I'm the outsider, let's say, of the group because I'm the newest one in the industry. But I loved watches since forever, and I have a digital website, an online magazine, and I write about watches. And this topic is very important for me. I tend to promote the brands that are actually doing something, and Ulysse Nardin is doing something, so I'm here. So let's start with something.
Probably you can start from the, there will be a jubilee within a couple of months. How would you describe the development of the race within the past years, from the beginning with a mission? You know that it was difficult when you compare it with the Formula 1 of sailing, the America's Cup, which becomes more and more technical. You're just in another way, which is really exciting, and also the idea is probably more sustainable than just Formula 1 on board. Could you tell us a little bit more?
Sure. So the ocean, what was with bread at the beginning, then the Volvo Ocean Race, then the ocean race, was always, probably one of the most in touch with the environment, because we're going offshore. It's as simple as that. We are probably the ones who know the sea the best in every area, because the others are inshore racing. And our sailors have probably seen more of the ocean than anybody on this planet, because they're crossing vast territories that have never been crossed before, ever. So it's starting from our DNA as ocean racer, seeing the devastation, like visible devastation, and also understanding how invisible sometimes the danger can be. Acidification, you can't see it, but we know it's increasing. Scientists are telling us. So during the edition of the 2017-18 of the race, we have built a program that is going a step further than just a partnership with an NGO, trying to integrate the sustainability thinking at the heart of the organization. So trying to address all the issues that a major sporting event is creating as well, but also the new thing was at the time using the voice of the mega sport event to raise awareness about the topic, and we chose ocean plastic pollution at the time. And then at the end of the race we could really realize we've created a movement, and people were changing behavior. Nobody from the sailors could hang around on the race village with a single-use plastic bottle in hand. People would point at him or her. And we won 7 awards from the recognition of the industry of the platform we've created. So for the next edition, we decided to step up and tackle ocean health as a whole, with a very strong global campaign around ocean rights, with the ambition to go to the UNGA General Assembly in New York to push for the idea of a universal declaration of ocean rights and use the sports event.
You call it just ocean rights, just as a overall symbol and expression.
And the narrative is simple as, you know, the ocean has so much value for humankind. It's providing half of the oxygen we breathe. It's just one of the elements of many. We're coming from the ocean, basically, originally, and it's really damaged at a rate that is unprecedented. So we feel we have a role to play to protect it and to restore it. So that's why we want to go to policymakers to accelerate the movement and use the race narrative to showcase how much it's important and how fast we need to act all together, really in collaborative mode.
What was the most shocking discovery about the ocean's, let's say, health?
For me, it was when we started. I was starting to convince everyone to give me some money to put device on board the boats, scientific device, measuring microplastic in the ocean. At the beginning, and I was like, they're all giving me the money, they're all trusting me, but we're not going to find anything because in the Southern Ocean, you know, there's a location that we call Point Nemo. And at that point, under the ocean, the closest human being is at the International Space Station. So to imagine how far it is from any kind of human activity. And there we found microplastic. And then my realization was like, not only it was worth doing, but the subject is, you know, everywhere. The contamination is absolutely everywhere, on land, in the air, at the bottom of the ocean. So we need to really act fast, you know, from the start of the material. You know. So it was for me a really good realization that our own program has created. I don't want to be depressing.
But it's true, because people can't imagine that there is such huge, layers of plastic, with incredible hundreds of kilometers sailing between. That's amazing. And also there's another point. I live in Munich, and a good German guy thinks, don't care, it's the sea, it's far away. We are in the green Bavaria, you are in the Jura, we have got the best place in the world. Yes, and then after a while you recognize, no guys, it will not stop at our frontier, but it will come to us. You can't stop it if you don't fight against it.
But it's not futuristic tone we should use. It's already in the human blood. Tested in many occasions. It's snowing microparticle of plastic. It's at the bottom of Mariana Trench. So it's basically in every area human are operating. So
during the race around the world, are there any events at these stations, or and so what kind of events are?
So we've launched a series of events. So for example, the Ocean Race Summits. So it's a series of 12 major international conferences that we're organizing at each stopover to gather influencers, leaders, politicians, to actually not only, you know, raise awareness about the issue, but really take commitments, take action. And after each ocean summit, which is like 2 or 3 hours worth, we are creating innovation workshops on ocean rights to actually form a working group that is going to design the draft principle of a declaration that we want to push in front of the United Nations. So it's like raise awareness and work on it to actually really take a concrete, tangible action for the governments to realize it.
Have you thought working with the Race for Water Foundation?
I was the director of Race for Water Foundation
for
4 years. And I actually created the program. There are many initiatives. Since the creation of Race for Water, I've seen, we did a landscape analysis at the time, and we identified, at the time it was 500 organizations working on ocean plastic pollution specifically. Now it must be 5,000. And I think it's a good measure of the realization of the issue. So, and we are working together, but in a way, everybody has its scope of influence. So we are in parallel movement, to influence even further the voice we can have.
Parallel efforts, and the idea to bring as much people as possible in the same boat.
Exactly.
So I have a question concerning the fisher nets.
Okay.
So when you started to talk to the fishermen, to ask them, what was their first reaction? Did they understand it from the beginning?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oui, ils étaient très intéressés par le projet et c'était leur attente de pouvoir voir leur filet de pêche être recyclé. Parce que de base, ils sont enfouis ou incinérés.
So they were very interested from the start, and they were actually looking for a solution for the recycling for the fishing nets, because before they were like either in the landfill or in the landfill, enfouis ou incinérés, or burnt.
Or burnt, yeah.
So and what happens to the fisher nets when you don't recycle them? So did they stay in the ocean or?
No. It's sent to Spanish for the.
Attends, donc s'ils sont pas recyclés en fait, qu'est-ce qui se passe avec les?
Ils sont envoyés en Espagne.
Ah oui.
Ouais. Et pour un marché européen du déchet, où ils sont toujours enfouis ou incinérés dans les zones dédiées.
So they are either sent to Spain to be in the major recycling system, or they are buried or.
Buried. Okay.
Do you have something to say in how the recycling process is done? Because you can recycle in a green way and in a not so green way. So, do you have something to say in how the material is used at the end, or recycled, the processes?
Comment est-ce que le matériau est recyclé? Est-ce que c'est fait d'une manière propre?
Ok.
Et après, comment le matériau est utilisé?
Ouais, le matériau, les fils de pêche sont triés pour pouvoir recycler la matière principale, donc les filets. Et ensuite, ils sont recyclés mécaniquement, pas chimiquement, ce qui fait un impact beaucoup moindre sur le cycle de recyclage, pour être après transformés en granulés.
Sorry, so the material are sorted and then divided by color. Is that what you said?
No, it's directly traded and originated.
Traded, and then they're transformed into little granules, little pellets. Thank you. And then they're reheated to be like a kind of nylon thread
But
to be reused.
it's a mechanical process, not chemical.
But even for the mechanical process, for instance, you can use green energy, water energy, or you can use coal. So this is the idea, is to have a sustainable process from start till the end.
Le process chimique a besoin de beaucoup d'énergie pour détruire le plastique et prendre une toute petite partie du nylon, que nous en fait on récupère quasi 100% du nylon quand il est chauffé et après créé en granulés.
So the chemical process needs a lot of energy to separate material, and the mechanical process they use, they take everything. So it's less energy intensive.
So that's the reason why you have to add some additional carbon to make it more resistible and tougher from the material.
The main reason is that that type of material, the PSX, it's not really. It's not really. Ironically, it's not resistant to such type of influence like humidity, for example. And it's ironical because it's coming from the sea, but the material is not stable. So in order to make it, fulfilling our standard, we are obliged to combine it with some carbon fiber in order to charge the material. So what we decided is, of course, to combine the material is recycled from the ocean, and we wanted to combine it with a carbon fiber that is upcycled. And this is why we have chosen another source. And we are sourcing this carbon fiber from another startup, which is based in the region of Toulouse, the name of the startup is Lavoisier Composite, and they are using carbon fiber that is the result of the waste of the production of aircraft bodies, and so as a result, the footprint for this carbon fiber is 40% lower than the regular one.
But you're in the lucky situation that you get around about 20 guys which are like a kind of test dummies for you, sailing around the world, being outside in the sun, in the rain, in the storm, wearing your watches, can tell you immediately within a couple of months, look, this is perfect, this you have to work on. Isn't it like this? That you've got a kind of...
Yes, we always do that. We have different type of tests. Of course, anyway, we need to follow some legislation rules.
Yeah.
So we always ask for all the suppliers, all the content of the materials in order to fulfill the REACH regulation. Then we do laboratory tests. It can be internally or externally. We also do, we call it testo porté. So we equip some people from the company with some prototypes. And then we have also some tests, we do, for example, a shock test. And then we also equip some sports guys.
But the hardest test will be
probably yes.
Putting people outside, staying at the sun,
people
the rain.
Who are doing, de la plongée en apnée, comment on dit ça?
Diving, apnea.
Free diving, yes. Or sailors, because we have some friends of the brand with the ocean race, and we also for independent sailors. So of course we get feedbacks from them.
So you use Fred for
taking
the pressure tests?
Yes, some prototypes.
Okay. There is Fred Boyle. He's our Ulysse.
Yes, he's one of the Ulysse, yes.
And he's apnoe-taucher, which broke several world records. So he goes underwater with no oxygen, and he goes down and tests
what is interesting is in what he's doing shark tagging. So, and he's diving without any equipment, because it gives him the possibility to approach the sharks more easily. And he discovered, by diving, he discovered that it was very easy for him to see, the fauna inside the sea. And then he decided to switch, to retire from world records, etc., and to be specialist in shark tagging. So, and we meet him on a regular basis, and he always brings us some feedback. And he's diving with our watches. In real, because it's not like when you most of the time when you do deep diving, with equipment, you don't dive with a mechanical watch normally. But for him, he doesn't need an electronic watch. He's always diving with our watches.
Plus, he's a photographer, so he's also taking many pictures of under the sea. Coming back to Fred, because that was an interesting thing. I was asking him how you're working together with him. What are you talking about when you talk to him? Obviously, you're talking about pressure on watches, but he told me also, and that's what we discussed yesterday, colors of watches under the water. Over the water, many people like striking colors, probably because it's more fashionably. But he says for him as a diver, it's better to have sound color, decent colors.
Muted colors.
Is that also the reason why the watch has more grayish color and not the more striking colors?
Yes.
See, that's the reason.
Yes.
Because we were discussing the color of the watch. Why is it a kind of dark color and not?
You mean for that one or in general? Because I know in general he prefers, yes.
Yeah. Also for this one, because it's your first and it should be a diver's watch and it shouldn't be so. Okay.
could it be that talking to Fred, this will also influence the choice of colors you will work for within the next couple of months, probably?
No, we are sharing that kind of information with him because we discuss a lot together. But then at the end, we make the choices in relation to our design vision, and also in relation with our technical constraints.
It could be a switch of market research, you know. If you would be Procter & Gamble, you would have 20,000 test groups asking, making multiple choice tests. Now you've got the opposite, you've got somebody who's really inside the say and say, look, this would be a great color. Because it's coming out of this sea.
We are a small industry, and what is interesting is that it's very easy to make the things easy. We discuss with the right persons, we share information, and then we take decisions in a straight manner. It's not so, I would say it's not so complicated in fact. And we are paying a lot of attention on the design. It's clear. It's really a very strong element in our decision process. It's always there is always a tension between design and technical constraints, and we always work on these contradictions.
So what about the long-term strategy using these sustainable materials in other or maybe all collections?
Yes. So what we are going to do is that we are going to enlarge this type of editions in the future. So we have different ideas in terms of material combinations and colors, and we want also to add new things into this proposal, a new type of materials. We are also working on processes, because you can produce the same material but in different manners, and the idea is to learn. It's a learning curve, you know what I mean? So, and also, so this is for the, let's say, there is a development axis which is related to sustainable products, and in the future we will have a sustainable product family, a certain number of SKUs in the collection related to that type of storytelling and technical content. And we have a second field which is maybe more invisible, is that we also work on sustainable issues for all the rest of the products, even if we do not communicate on that. And the idea is really to follow a certain number of KPIs in order to improve constantly and increase the level of basically the recycle share, material by material, or supplier by supplier.
So is it difficult to find the right suppliers for this? You need new suppliers?
No, I would say that we have two fields here. For all the existing suppliers, it's more a work of, they have to be convinced that they should do more. Because it requires additional R&D, it requires, it implies supply chain disruption to do things like that. So we work on that axis, for example, for the metallic components. Particularly, we are highly, we believe that we have something to play here, a specific role, because we are producing our own calibers and movements. In the past, people were recycling a certain amount of these metals for economic reasons. So, but now, if you want to increase the level of recycled parts, it starts to be costly. You know what I mean? And the second field we are working on is to try to find new suppliers with new type of sourcing and materials. And here the idea is to be creative, and what is difficult is to do something that is in a relation with who you are. You know what I mean? For example, a packaging made of mushrooms, it's sustainable, but for me, it's interesting, but it's not linked to our DNA, which is related to the sea. So the difficulty here is to select and to find the right source and then to make it happen because very often you are facing difficulties in fact with the materials.
What do you think it could be then? That's a question for all of you. The idea is that we need to educate the people. First for the keeping the ocean clean, second to educate the collectors that having the right material in a watch is something that someone needs to do, not once needs to do, and then use the right products. How can the public be educated in this manner? Because from this perspective, I think it's not too much done. I mean, we know about the ocean race because of Ulysse Nardin, but most of the people don't know about Ulysse Nardin first, secondly, ocean race. So what can be done?
So we have in place a big program to raise awareness. So first to use the boats as messengers. So to put the branding. Last edition of the race there was a boat called Turn the Tide on Plastic, associated with the UN Environment campaign called Clean Seas. So it's not only about visibility, but it's also the sailors themselves who have a voice, so they have millions of fans, so they need to understand what's at stake and talk about that. So first at the sports level, and in reality maybe the ocean race is not that well known because first it has changed name, but we're going to celebrate 50 years in 23. And we have millions and millions of fans because it's an 8 months long sport event. It's the longest sport event in history, and with different nationalities crossing all around the world in 8 stopovers, 8 host cities. So the cumulated media impact is massive. It's one of the biggest sport events. So the sport, we love to quote a number: 16% of people follow science, 80% of people follow sport. And that's the reason why we think sport is a powerful voice. So first on the sport side, but then we're also having education programs to really dig the knowledge down into the kids, primary schools, secondary schools, to make them understand what's at stake and be the future leaders of this world, because this problem is going to last. So it's not only about the matter of one generation, it's generation after generation.
Do you have partners? Sorry, do you have partners in Germany?
In terms of so we have Boris Herrmann, for example, who's a German sailor who's going to participate in the race. He has Team Malizia, and he has a whole group of partners, specifically German-based.
But one question I would like to ask, because we have already this a little bit strange situation that we have got, I don't know, you know it better than me, 4, 5, 8 different types of certifications for watches, and we use precising the watches to put them in water and the deep, and we change the I don't know, this three-dimensional proposition, but we have not one certification which talks about environment and about the way of production. Wouldn't this be a great chance for Ulysse Nardin founding a standard for watches to say, guys, like for instance Chopin did it with his gold standards, to say I try to use better gold, positive gold.
Yeah, but Chopin comes after a scandal regarding the gold. They were more pushed to find this. So
at the end, if the end is positive, I don't care. But at the moment we have got, I don't know, 8 certifications about watches and the questions, but not one is talking about the way of production and the way to produce in a sustainable way.
So like you have the Swiss made, the percent made in Switzerland, to have
Genève, or the
exactly, to have the
certification,
the eco,
Fleury,
Yes.
Come on, glass Hütte.
Well, how can I answer that? I believe that it can be positive or negative either, because when you are imprisoned in a certain logics, you know, you have many ways. I mean, you could argue with many type of certifications about the way it's done and what is the real content, and you know what I mean. And when you take a direction, you will find always pros and cons, and you know that, and you always have consequences. If you are formatted in something, you do not reinvent yourself. So I believe that certification is a good thing because it raises the bar, but also it can be also a limitation. So I honestly I don't know. For me, the most important thing, in fact, at the end is that private companies are the ones who are going to make the change happen. This I believe. So it's not by the regulation, it's by the creativity. And I believe that the main driver for change, in fact, honestly, I more believe in business than anything else, in fact.
I believe in both.
I mean, the business, no, but there should be certification, there should be controls and balances and etc. But if you want to protect your business, you need to constantly reinvent yourself. You need to also protect you from possible issues that you may face with the customers because they do not follow or understand your behaviors. So, in fact, at the end, the main driver should be that.
But you are in the lucky situation that nobody would would care about your inside quality, because with your history, with your great 118. Would say, look, I have no doubts we have got a perfect product, so we can do another step towards a great product. It's not only the typical technical perfection, it's also the way how you could transport your product and setting a standard.
Yes, but I have to say that a luxury timepiece is supposed normally to be able to be given to the next generation. For example, I mean, when you buy a recycled fishing net case, as an end consumer, you are choosing to take a risk. It's objectively higher than when you buy a steel watch, because nobody has done that in the past. So how can you be sure that in 10 years this watch will have the same value than? So even if as a developer I believe that the standard is here technically, the history of watchmaking is also paved of difficulties that you can face after a launch, and so it's also an act of activism to make the choice to endorse that type of product as a consumer in a certain manner. I mean, I believe that some people who are going to buy this watch, they will think about it before doing that.
So here comes a very frank question: what's the expected lifetime? Yes, because you have plastic degrades in time. So you more than sure have a minimum expected lifetime.
Yes.
What's that number?
Is plastic like 300 years?
No.
It's different?
It's plastic degrading is one thing. Having plastic in one product that you can use is different thing.
Okay.
Because if you look at plastic watches from the 80s, they are still functional, but started to lug, still broke, and so on. It's come freeable and so on. So you need a minimum lifetime that you expect in any certain circumstances to be 100% okay. what's the number? It was
He's always asking very
Since I'm back
difficult
from the
questions.
future, you have to start the
No,
answer.
no.
Since I'm back
For me,
yeah.
it's very difficult to answer that question because, of course, it depends on how are you going
usage clearly.
to use this watch.
But here comes the
but
part per
for me-
millions that
sorry?
you. Here comes the part per millions that you expect. To
Yes, yes.
Because of the.
No, but my belief is that when I see the feedback I had from all the people who work on this project on the technical side, when you look at the results of all the tests that has been done, etc., normally, I mean, this watch you can keep it for 30 years. I mean, without any, you should keep it without any issue. I don't know the exact figure, but it's a question of several details.
Factors.
So it's after, of course, if you do, intensive usage, if you spend your life in the middle of the ocean at the equator level, I mean, you know what I mean. It's not the same as if you wear it on your wrist in Paris or New York, but going on vacations from time to time. You know what I mean?
But wearing it in Paris, the risk could be even higher.
Yes, maybe in a certain manner.
Oh my God, nice watch, you're gone.
But it's true, and it's true, and it's why we have done a limited edition, because we also take a responsibility in front of our customers, and I really it's when Patrick told me he wanted us to develop something, I mean a concept like that. At that time, it was not clear exactly what concept would it be. I told him, okay, but please let us do that in a progressive manner. So we are going to start by a concept watch. And then we are going to produce a limited edition, and then we are going, and it's what we are doing.
But working with startups, it's also a very risky business because you have absolutely no security. And here comes to you. How do you manage to float? Because I'm more than sure you have problems each day with everyone and.
C'est comment on arrive à gérer les problèmes,
à t'en sortir en tant que startup,
ouais.
pour faire face à toutes les difficultés que rencontre ce type d'activité.
Ouais, bah c'est d'y croire. Même si on a des difficultés des fois à passer des étapes, on a toujours l'objectif qui est là-bas de créer toute cette chaîne de valeur au niveau national.
The objective is to believe in it and having in every step the long-term vision to what did you say?
Créer la filière nationale.
To create a national supply chain, value chain in fact. So that's the ultimate goal. So it's easier to go to the steps, you know, because they know what they want to achieve.
Et après, en fait, dès qu'il y a un problème, il faut trouver et travailler avec les personnes qui ont les compétences pour justement nous faire passer à l'étape dessus, nous faire grandir.
Each time they face a new difficulty, they work in collaboration with experts or people who have the skills to go a step further.
Nice.
But at the same time, you know how inside the company is growing too. So, you know, also after a while, more and more about working with small companies, but also with the raw materials, isn't it? You get a lot of know-how with these recycled materials during this work.
You speak about Ulysse Nardin?
Yeah.
Well, at least the first know-how that we got is that composite material is very risky. So this is what we learned from experience.
So your learning curve was really high.
Yes. And with Lavoisier composite, we had difficulties during the preliminary steps. Same for FIL&FAB. And so it's you also learn to be modest, but also I think the partnership we have with them is also is strong because it's also related to the difficulties that you have together. You know what I mean? And each time you start to produce, at the beginning you have difficulties, they feel a responsibility, so they really get involved because I mean they have no choice, they need to make it happen, they are startups. So the energy and the involvement they put in such type of projects. It's also a plus for us because they bring us a lot of involvement. You know what I mean?
Et ce que je peux rajouter, c'est que quand Ulysse Nardin quand on s'est rencontrés, on était au tout début du projet, on venait de refaire nos premiers kilos de granulés, donc on ne connaissait pas réellement et techniquement notre matière.
So at the beginning, when they met Ulysse Nardin, they were like really at the start of the process. So it was the first kilograms of pellets. So they didn't really know, how the material would react.
Et maintenant, on a 2 ans d'expérience dans ce travail de régénération. Et les problématiques ou les besoins d'Ulysse Nardin il y a 2 ans, on ne les connaissait pas. Maintenant, on a les réponses parce qu'on travaille avec beaucoup d'autres secteurs industriels qui ont les compétences.
So before they didn't know what were the requirements at the beginning, and now because they have worked with several other types of industrial needs, they know how to respond to each of the requirements.
So they learn to deliver different, more or less raw materials to different types of industry. Vous avez produit le matériau différent pour les différents groupes d'industriels.
Oui et non. On a réussi à trouver une base commune pour toutes les industries. Et après, c'est les clients qui arrivent à trouver aussi les solutions, comme Ulysse Nardin avec la fibre recyclée, etc.
So they have an industrial base for every industry, and then each client, like Ulysse Nardin, find solutions adapted to their own needs.
In projects like that, you don't. They are our supplier for the raw material, if I may say. But then we are also working with other suppliers in order to work on the different steps in the process in between.
So you help them also to grow.
Yes. It's not a direct work between us and them. They are part of it, but it's a teamwork. You work with the case manufacturer, you work with an injector. You can work with laboratories, so it's really a teamwork, and it's not only about the raw material itself, it's also the way it is, the format also it is supplied to you. It can influence. Many things can be slightly adapted in order to help positively the production.
I'm sorry, but the time is running out. So maybe one last question from everybody.
So was the watch the first product made of the recycled fisher nets, or what other products are there?
No, not the first. The glasses is the first glasses like that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's the first product, and after watches, and now knife, les ailerons de surf.
Les ailerons de surf.
Ah oui.
Outdoors.
Fins from the surf.
Yes.
Okay.
My question would be, you have been at the beginning of the silicon technique. Do you start now the next chapter in watch industry, being first mover in composite materials and recyclable plastic?
Yes, I believe so. And silicium has been a breakthrough for movements, and I believe that we need to do the same type of move for what we call the habillage, but is outside the movement. And I think that this is the beginning of a story related to innovation outside and inside the movement, because you can also think sustainability for the inside.
I've got only one sentence more. You know that Gisbert will call me tonight and will say, I'm so disappointed you had not one intelligent question about his work with a caliber. You should ask him about. So we probably can do it next time.
Yes,
that
next time.
You go in deep with him to say what you've got in mind with a caliber technique. Thank you.
The biggest wish for everyone, the end goal, the highest goal, what would it be?
So for us, it's to have a universal declaration of ocean rights by 2030. So we've given ourselves a little bit of time. adopted by the majority of member states at the UNG.
Good luck with that.
And for you?
Probably something related to what we shared with the silicium. It will be to try to set a new standard in terms of a technical breakthrough that will stay in the industry, considered as something highly significant for 10 or 20 years. So I hope we will come to that kind of proposal, improving constantly our product proposal of sustainable products.
Et pour moi, c'est vraiment d'aller toujours dans l'accompagnement de nos clients sur leur stratégie de développement durable. Et de l'autre côté, d'accompagner toujours le secteur de la pêche à développer ces filières de recyclage, à ramener les filets de pêche sur les ports pour pouvoir après servir nos clients dans l'industrie.
So on one hand is to help clients in their sustainability strategy and recycling process. On the other hand is about fishermen, to help them as much as possible, to bring back from the sea all the nets and contribute to accelerate recycling rates. Right?
Yeah, yes, that's right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much.
You're welcome.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.